Hello, good afternoon, and good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, people are still coming in, so I'd like to just make a few quick housekeeping uh, to enjoy our webinar the best. And please mute your microphone throughout the presentation unless you'd like to speak. And we encourage you to submit any questions if you have any time via the chat box. We will address them during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And if you have any experience for the technical difficulties and issues, please try refreshing your browser or reconnecting to the session. Okay, then for those joining the event for the first time, I would like to briefly introduce to the East Asian Australasian Flyway, and also known as EAAF, and also World Migratory Bird Day. In the world, there are 9 major flyways, and the EAAF is the largest flyway stretching from Oceania to Alaska, and many birds travel along this route for breeding. And it is also one of the most vulnerable flyways, supporting over 250 species and around 50 million migratory waterbirds, including many endangered species. So the EAAFP partnership was established to provide the flyway-wide framework, and it promotes dialogue, cooperation, and collaboration among a wide range of stakeholders at all levels. So our aim and mission is to conserve migratory waterbirds and their habitats, as well as the livelihood of local communities that depends on wetland. And today's the theme of this webinar is about the World Migratory Bird Day. It is a UN-backed global awareness campaign, and it highlights the importance of conserving migratory birds, protecting their habitats, and strengthening the international cooperation. It is celebrated twice each year, and on the second of Saturday in May and October. And it is marking the peak of the spring and autumn migration of the migratory birds as well. And the migration timing varies by region and species. That's why people are encouraged to celebrate whenever birds are most active in their areas within events taking place throughout the year. And this year, the slogan of the World Migratory Bird Day is "Every bird count, your observations matter." This highlights the importance of community science in safeguarding migratory birds across all the world's flyways. And if you are planning to do some birdwatching activity, please make sure to record it on the shared platforms such as eBird. And on eBird, you can also find the EAAFP's account and to share your data with the wider East Asian Australasian Flyway communities. And to begin our program, I'm delighted to welcome our distinguished speakers, and also it is my pleasure to invite Jennifer George, Chief Executive of the EAAFP Secretariat, to deliver the welcome remarks. Jennifer, thanks for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Minjay, and a warm greetings to everyone joining Voices from the EAF Flyway as we celebrate World Migratory Bird Day 2026 with the ASEAN Flyway Network. And so this year's theme is Every Bird Counts, Your Observations Matter. And I love this theme because conservation often begins with something very simple, someone noticing. And noticing a bird, noticing a colour band, noticing something small might actually be part of something much bigger. And so that's what's happened in Sibugay in the Philippines. And a local person saw a great knot with a tiny blue and yellow band on its leg. And so they became curious. What was that band? Where had that bird come from? Why was it here? And that small question opened a flyway story. And so the colours were a message just for those who knew that this bird came from Bohai Bay in China. Suddenly, one bird in the southern part of the Philippines was not just one bird, it was a messenger. It was connecting wetlands, countries, scientists, local communities, and the people who care. So from that curiosity, the story grew. And Sibugay is now part of the Flyway Network site family. So alongside places like Lake Mainit, one of our other brand new Flyway Network sites, and the many remarkable Flyway Network sites across the 11 countries of ASEAN, including Aprianto from Indonesia here today, these sites remind us that the people on the ground are not at the edge of conservation. They're at the heart of it. And so this is a beautiful link to our EAAFP 20th anniversary as well, woven by people, carried on wings. So every observation that people make, it's like a stitch, and every bird count is a thread, and every local bird watcher, site manager, ranger, student, scientist, and community member helps weave the knowledge we need to protect this and other flyways. But when people notice, record, ask, and then share, that mystery becomes knowledge, and knowledge becomes care. So today, let's celebrate these three amazing voices that we have here today from the EAAF Flyway, from the ASEAN Flyway Network. Gina, Aprianto, and Jane. Thank you. Thank you for being people in our communities whose observation help us to see the whole journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for your encouraging and warm welcome. Now we'll proceed to the congratulatory remarks, and it is an honor to invite Amir Sarney, Director of the Biodiversity Conservation Division, Programs Department at the ASEAN Centre for the Biodiversity, to share a few words on this special occasion. ACB has been a strong supporter of the ASEAN Flyway Network and World Migratory Bird Day, and we are delighted to have him with us today. Please join me warmly welcome Amir. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Minjay. On behalf of the ASEAN Centre for Biodiversity, as well as NParks of Singapore, as chairperson of the ASEAN Flyway Network, I am pleased to welcome everyone to this webinar series, which is part of the celebration of the 2026 World Migratory Bird Day. As next year will be actually the 10th year of the ASEAN Flyway Network, I am pleased to see some of the fruits of the strengthening of the network, where we will have three um, wetland managers from members of the ASEAN Flyway Network sites, one from Indonesia and two, which is also two of the newest members of the EAAF Flyway sites. And I hope that this will just be the first of the series that we will be doing, hopefully, Jennifer, on a regular basis every time we do the World Wetland Migratory Bird Day celebration, so that our managers, wetland managers, not just from the AFN, but from the whole EAAFP Flyway Network site, will be able to share their knowledge and experiences across the greater Flyway sites. And I hope that the learnings from the three resource person this afternoon will be able we will be finding some lessons learned that are applicable to each of our own flyway sites that we are managing. So back to you, Minjay, and again, thank you very much for this opportunity to AFP, and also to our resource person for this afternoon. Back to you, Minjay.
Thank you, Amir, and for your inspiring and thoughtful words on behalf of the ASEAN Flyway Network, and we truly appreciate your support. And now we will move on to the presentation session of today's webinar. And I'm pleased to have Vivian Fu, Senior Manager at WWF Hong Kong, as a co-moderator of this webinar. And she manages the Wetlands for ASEAN Flyway initiative. And she will now provide a brief introduction to the program and facilitate the Q&A session later at the end of the webinar. Vivian, over to you.
Thanks, Minze. Maybe our next slide. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to see everyone here. My role here is actually maybe echoing what Emil have mentioned, like how EAAFP Flyway Network site can contribute for the better Flyway network. So as WWF Hong Kong, we are convening this project called Empowering Site Managers for Effective Wetlands and Migratory Bird Conservation in Asia. It is sponsored by the Asian Pacific Network for Global Change Research. And you can see the list of the partners logos here. They are the collaborator for this project. And we hope that as WWF Hong Kong, with our experience from managing Maipo Nature Reserve, that we can also share our experience with site managers and decision-making leaders from Southeast Asia to equip them with our work on science-based management, SEPA, nature-based solution, and recently exploring the new technology for better managing wetlands for migratory birds. The project is divided into two parts, and the first part has been conducted in the Maipo Nature Reserve in January and March, which we have two kind of like a 4 days training workshop, intensive ones for the site managers and site decision-making leaders from the ASEAN Flyway Network. And then the second part is the post-training webinars, which is this one is the first one, and we are going to have another one in July. Hopefully that this momentum of site managers' exchange of ideas and experience and knowledge can go on afterwards. And here I also wanted to really thank our close partners like ASEAN Centre for Biodiversity, all the managers and focal points of the ASEAN Flyway Network, EAAFP, MPark National Park Singapore, IUCN, RLCEA, University of Hong Kong, Parsons Institute for supporting the previous trainings and these webinars. Thank you, Minje, and over to you. And I think people don't want to wait for the presentation later on. Thanks.
Thank you, Vivian, for the overview of the program, and I believe it really helps us again to clearly understand today's session. And unfortunately, Jennifer has another commitment, so she has to leave now. And thanks again for joining, Jennifer.
I'll catch up with you all on YouTube.
Yes,
thank you so
please.
much. Lovely to see you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Yes, then I'm so pleased to now welcome our excellent lineup of speakers, Ms. Georgina Fernandez from the Sibugay Wetland Nature Reserve and a EAAFP Flyway Network site in the Philippines, and Mr. Aprianto from Wasur National Park in Indonesia. And Wasur National Park in Indonesia is also a Flyway Network site. And Ms. Jane Ruelo from Lake Mainit, another Flyway Network site in Philippines. So I would like to invite our first presenter, Ms. Georgina Fernandez, Chief of the Conservation and Development Section Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Region 9, Pendor Jambunga Sibugay, and she is Supervising Ecosystems Management Specialist of the Provincial Environment Natural Resources Office of Jambunga Sibugay, and she'll be speaking on our winged travelers in Sibugay Wetland Nature Reserve. Let us warmly welcome her, Ms. Georgina. The floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Magandang hapon po. Am I clear, Minjay?
Yes, you're clear.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the winged travelers in Sibugay Wetland Nature Reserve. So our journey started in 2018. Our site covers 10 municipalities and 103 coastal communities. garnering an area of about 255,890.08 hectares. So this is how big our site is. So, and I referred this data to BMB, and they have said that so far among the we are the seventh Ramsar site, Flyway site network site in the Philippines, and so far we are also the biggest as we cover this much area. So we have to collaborate a lot with a lot of people. So our journey started in 2018 when we did an annual water bird census in our wetland area. And we encountered this guy, Rudy Turnstone, with a flag, inscription on the blue flag, E11. So as Jennifer mentioned a while ago, that this was banded in Buay Bay, China. So we have encountered this species twice, 2 straight years from 2018 and 2019. But as you can see in the screen, we go beyond the annual water bird census schedule. Normally, in 2018, it was timely that it occurred. The counting was timely with the occurrence of the full moon and or new moon at that time. So this, as a coastal wetland area, we need to take note of this period because during full moon and new moon, these are the times where we experience 2 days before and after the schedule where lowest tide is experienced, so we can observe more. So yes, if you can see in the screen, we have encountered the same species on the same date for 2018 and 2019, but it goes beyond the counting period. So it is also important to take note of this data, and we have help from our field offices from Centro Cabasalan, Imelda, and from Zamboanga City. So we were able to do all these things, that 8-year journey to become a flyway site with the help of our teammates from the field. So we have a strong team in Sibugay where our field offices are empowered, and they are helping us in the monitoring of these different sites. So from this encounter with the banded water bird in 2018, we continued for onwards from 2018, and we were able to generate data from banding data from Australia. You see 2 banding sites, and then from China we have we only mentioned here 2, but actually there are 3 banding sites from China, and then from Maipo, from Vivian's area, Common Red Chang. And then from Japan, we have 2 banding sites. And then for Taiwan, 2 banding sites also. And from Russia, 2. So all in all, we have 6 countries with 12 banding sites. So these data were generated through the efforts of, by collaborating with the communities. First and foremost, the communities were the ones who helped us identify the feeding sites of these birds. So they know which areas they go first, and then they transfer to another area. So the collaboration with the community is really important. So because they are there in the field most of the time, so they taught us, they showed to us the feeding sites and where they also go when high tide comes. So from this data that we have generated for 8 years, we were able to become a flyway network site last year in November in Cebu. Our journey has started in 2018, and as Sir Amiel was saying, our site is also a recipient of the AFN funds in 2019 during the time of Dr. Mondita Lim. So we were provided with the funds, and that funding support from ACB generated the data that we did on a monthly basis on the 3rd and 4th quarter, because those are the times that we don't have funding support from the national office in Manila, because we only have once a year target during the annual water bird census. So we have documented this species, and we have noticed that it is really important for us to monitor, do monitoring. If it's not possible to do it twice, 3rd and 4th quarter, it's suggested to do it on the 4th quarter in order to account the birds going down, doing the southern migration. Because from the data that we have generated through the FN funding from ACB, we have noticed that most of the birds, banded water birds, we documented were only during the southern migration, but during the northern migration, they do find another route So we seldom encounter most of the banded water birds in the annual water bird census. So the data that we generated during that funding support from ACB was really important in generating the needed database for the Flyway Network site. So in our site information sheet, we mentioned that Sibugay Wetland Nature Reserve is one of the missing link in the EAAF, since as Jennifer has mentioned before, that the Philippines lies at the center of the flyway. So it is really crucial for us and important to note where these birds go after they feed from one area to the other within the Philippines. So from this data that we have generated, we were also, I believe that we were the first to celebrate in the Philippines for World Migratory Bird Day in October of 2018. So because that was the time that we were allowed to celebrate beyond May. So with the support of the local government units and the provincial government and other offices of the DNR and other government institutions, we were able to conduct SEPA activities in different schools. So the World Migratory Bird Day celebration in Sibugay Wetland Nature Reserve sometimes lasts more than a day. So in 2018, we did it on a 3-day activity. In 2019, 2 days, and then 2022, 1 day. So 2020 and 2021, it was during the pandemic time, so we were not able to do it. And then these are some of the activities that the regional office helped us organize, doing poster making contests, and then utilizing the local talents in the area. These are schools, the selected schools are schools near the wetland sites. And then we were the first also to avail of this activity from the EAAF. So in 2018, we were also given funding support to do this activity. So we were able to send some of the messages to the EAAF Secretariat through Heson. And then she also sent to us messages from Korea and China. So the children were, and the other participants were really excited to see what are the messages coming from the other countries. So, and then we also did face paintings during the event. And then we introduced the eco brick production. We collaborated with the Department of Education in the province. So they submitted to us the bottles with all those plastic materials. So we turned those materials into sitting benches, tables, and then one was floating boat. So it can be maneuvered manually, and it can be also pulled by another marine asset. So the local government unit of CI, with the support of the provincial government, also sponsored interpretive dance contest from the schools in CI. So the elementary students and some of the high school students participated, and all the theme was about migratory birds and water birds. And then as you can see on the stage, this was in 2019, where the USAID through the Protect Wildlife Project also sponsored the shirts of the event. And then we do cultural activities or presentations in the wetland site. And then this was in 2022, after the pandemic period, where the Wild Bird Club of the Philippines, through Miss Karen's group and the former director of the DOT from Region 9, Ma'am Jun Bugante, they came to Sibugay to do World Migratory Bird Day for that year. So they were our exclusive participants, and because this was just after the pandemic. So for this year, these are the latest facilities that Jennifer and the Belle and Kyle was able to visit. So the local government unit were given funding support from the tourism office from TIEZA, so Tourism Enterprise and Economic Office. So they provided these platforms for us to be able to observe the birds at low tide. And For this year, I've met with the provincial office and the local government unit of CI last Monday, and they mentioned that it was already incorporated in their annual investment plan and then in their ecotourism plan also to continue the celebration. So it will start this year and it will be on a yearly basis that they will host the celebration of the World Migratory Bird Day in October. So for this year, they are planning to do it for about 2 days. So it will be on October 9 and 10 with the highlight on the 10th, the actual World Migratory Bird Day celebration. And they intend to still do like the interpretive dance competition, the kite festival with the designs for the migratory water birds. And then they plan to have a contest for mascots for the 10 municipalities. They intend to have like a flagship species per municipality for the water birds. So that when they come on a yearly basis, they can use the mascots for SEPA activities also. And then bird watching activity is also conducted because it will be timely for the full moon at that time. So there will be low tide during that period. So they can observe birds. And then they will still continue face painting. And then they intend also to do film showing at night time since it will be a 2-day affair. And then to also do an eco camp to activate the eco warriors in the area. So we have started in 2018 the eco warriors for elementary students and some high school students. So they intend to revive it in order for them to be engaged in these activities. So this is how we celebrate World Migratory Bird Day in Sibugay. And we hope that you can come and join us, Minjay. You are not with us this February. So we hope that you can join with Vivian and the rest, Sir Amiel. So this is the end of my slide. And maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gina. It was so much inspiring presentation, and we can see how can the observation of the flagged showers really contribute to figure out the migration route from Philippines and across the EAA Flyway. All right. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Aprianto, forest ecosystem specialist at Wasur National Park in Merauke, Indonesia. He will be presenting useful avifauna strengthening bird monitoring in Wasur National Park. Aprianto, over to you.
Okay, I will start my presentations. Just to make a brief, thousands of birds and thousands of ants and one final exodus descends into the heart of Wasur National Park, but who catch when they fall? Today, I will show you how the youth of South Papua are transforming for Perleus journey into a grandest sanctuary. Can you go to next page? Wasur National Park is more than just a landscape. It's a Ramsar site of global importance and lifelines for thousands of migratory birds traveling from East Asian and ASEAN Flyway. However, we face a silent crisis. There is fast vitals and in wetlands are so far too extensive for our current teams to protect alone, leaving a dangerous gap in our monitoring. In our vision, is to bridge this defined through citizen science. So we are use like youth to help us by activating local youth as our eyes on the ground. So we use them for help us in the ground by transforming the next generation into skilled monitors. We are not just counting wings in the sky. We are securing the ecological heartbeat of South Papua and fostering the eternal guardians of our natural heritage. Because in Wasur, every bird count and every year matters. Seems like we talked today. We must involve the youth because they are the future here at Wasur National. Before years in Wasur, we like site managed by governments. Here's the acknowledged local customer rights. So we use include the youth to ensuring the long-term sustainability by combining their rapid adaptations to digitals, because now everything is use a smartphone and then use a technology like for birds, is we can use eBird, and then now for my office we use smart patrols to record everything in the fields with the traditional knowledge, and we mix with modern one, so we get already process the territory. We create a far grassroots approach of conservation, and then empowering these locals as on the ground, ensure that every bird counts and every year matters in protecting South Papua heritage. Our transforming strategy turns local patients into professional science used by the youth. We have three critical pillars. The first, we can provide capacity buildings. In years, just not like professional ones. We just use a basic ones to identifications and rigorous survey methodology. So they have close to the nature, and then we just provide them with information. So when they meet the bird, so they can make like a simple identifications. Next, we assist digital integrations by replacing papers with a real-time digital platforms, as that I mentioned before. That's now everything we can get by technology, and then everyone's, I think, has like handphone, so it's easy to record like when they going to the beach or Mars or wetlands, other wetlands, so they just can input in their data, and then the third data validations, we can convert this community-led observation into verified. So in years we just like information then, and then we verified. So it's like we concluded as official scientist that said. So it will help us like national park management with credible data needed to protect our birds. When we talk about target species and ecosystem indicators, our monitoring efforts focus on two vital priorities. Like first, maybe we talk about bird migratory, and then the second is like iconics. These iconics, like most in flex species, like if you see the map and then you see Papua Islands, it look like a bird, and then it's like a bird of paradise. So it's like it really beautiful. And then if we talk about migratory birds, and then we will see about shorebird and water birds. That's incredible long distance travelers who present serves as ultimate indicators of transboundary wetland health. So alongside that, we focus on the other ones that I mentioned before, is like iconic flexes, ensure we protect the every vehicles identify of South Papua through targeted habitat monitoring. Like the previous ASEAN water birds, we doing into different side. The first is like inside our national park, and then the other sides we use the peripherals that has like close connected to Wasur National Park. That I will mention more. In 2026, the first ASEAN Water Census in Wasur National Park, we documented diverse avian populations. We record 55 identified species and unidentified groups. The census observes a total of individual birds, almost 2,300 of birds. The finding highlights a significant presence both of aquatic and terrestrial species. For this activity, we include more for local communities, and then youth in Wasur National Parks. We can call them as well like green youth movement. So we include them to help us to make a water bird census interface. The finding highlight the significant presence both aquatic and terrestrial species for aquatic birds. The survey identified roughly most for 40 aquatic species. The dominated number by pet imperial agents, and with almost 1,000 individuals, and then we also find a great knot with almost 600 individuals in one place. So like here we had like a separate place, but we can see the in single one place with almost 500 individuals. For other species, when we doing the census, we can find for other species that we record like eagles, kingfishers, and other fish. If we talk about conservation status, the census identifies several species of high conservation concerns, including endangered species like lesser sandpipers, for eastern curlew, and then great knot. Indeed, this we find before. We view our water birds as ecological mirrors. So when we can see in field, and then we just reflect them because they not just inhabit the wetlands, but they reflect the environment itself by monitoring their distributions. They travel long way, so we can gain a clear window into the health of our ecosystems, especially here, Wasur National Park, and then nutrient cycles in the fields, also allowing us to see the invisible through the visibility. Okay, progress so far that we doing. We are scaling conservation impact by expanding our monitoring network into previous underserved wetland sectors, ensure no corner of Western coast unserved. Our youth teams are already providing highly maybe for recommendations, and then recording new species occurrence and unique animal behaviors that's significant enrich our national park database. Most importantly, this initiative has sparked a grassroots advocacy movement, transforming local village for observers to active, lifelong guardian of our ecosystem. So it's in the scaling conservation truth engagement, we had three pillars. For the one is expands modular network, the other high value documentations, and then not last but is important, grassroots advocacy, that a measurable shift in conservation awareness, transforming local village from the passive to active health in the ground. So it's really available for us in manage our conservationist Wasur National Park. Can you go to the next slide, please? By activating local youth, we have a significant expansion to our maternal network, successfully filling critical data gaps across previous underserved and then other sectors. This team provide high value recommendations by recording new species occurs and then directly enrich the official national park database. This initiative is driving a powerful shift in grassroots, transforming local community, then active guardians. So it's like make a change from engagement to be actions in the field. Go to next, please. When we're looking forward, like in monitoring, to ensure these transformations take, we are installizing the Wasur youth. Maybe the one can be we doing now is like make a Wasur youth bird club, and they can establish and then make help the youth to future conservationists indefinitely. We are securing our impact through policy integrations, making youth-led data backbone of national park management. But most importantly, we are providing the conservation pace by launching regenerative ecotourism initiative that provide locals family with dignified bird center economy. So here we transformed the bird into the ecotourism, because mostly people here they live like in inside our national park. They like tends to rely on to nature, so it's really help them to work in their economy and then make them livelihood go on. We are not just saving an ecosystem, we are building a sustainable future where nature and community thrive together. So it's like we not help us in institutionally, but give more enrich in policy, and then the other one is help local peoples to improve the economics through the ecotourism. Go to the next slide, please. The call actions I will say here: by enhancing our bird monitoring efforts, we do more than count species. We safeguard a ecological harbor of South Papua through the training of youth. We ensure the park feature is held by skilled hand of eternal guardian. So it's from the to them. So it's like a reactive bands to help us protect their natures. Threatening bird monitoring in South Papua transcends a simple census of wings. In years, water bird is a vital mission to preserve our region's ecological heartbeat by placing features in the skilled hands to the next generations, because we believe that every bird count, every youth matters. We are not just collecting data, we are fostering the eternal guardians of our natural heritage. In closing, it just threatening bird monitoring is far more than inventory of wings in the sky. It's like a vital mission to ensure ecologicals in Papua to thrive skills its next generations. We are not just protecting national park with eternal and then join us in these missions, because Wasur every corn bird every year matters, like we call in actions in years. Go to the next slide, please. Here's not closings, but this is like how to our methodology builds our rigorous three-step pipelines. We begin with intensive capacity building, move beyond simple identifications to master the technicals, discipline of point count protocols. For examples, we then implement in the digital declaration for real-time field entry, which eliminate our manual errors. The final and most critical set is citizen science validations, where convey the lead observations into verified high integrity data sets and then national scientific data. We focus prioritize into group of vitals that defines ecological value. First is migratory birds, and then water birds, our global voyagers, whose use us to assess the health of critical transboundary wetlands. Second, our flagships, like a bird of paradise, by monitoring best biological treasures. We are just not protect individual, we are setting geological identify of South Papua. In closing message, just convey here, remember that threatening our maintenance systems is about far more than inventory of wind in the sky. It's about ensuring the ecological heartbeat in South Papua continues to act through the skilled peoples, young peoples, for the next generations. We are not just protecting the park, we are fostering the eternal guardians, because in Wasur National Park, we believe that every bird should be valuable. Thank you for listening my presentations today.
Thank you so much, Aprianto, for your informative and engaging presentation, particularly highlighting the importance of the role of youth engagement in the conservation. And I'm sure your presentation also inspired the youth in this webinar and to be more confident on their work and also to make more actions. And I also slightly want to promote that the EAAFP has a youth task force and to strengthen the voices from the youth. So if any of audience and if you have any youth you know well about and whom are making their actions from the ground, please invite them to the youth task force. And we appreciate you, Aprianto, taking time and to share your great experience with us. And now we will move on to our last presentation, and it's a pleasure to welcome Ms. Jane Ruelo, Head of the Biodiversity Unit under the Conservation and Development Division of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Region 13. She'll be speaking on Every Bird's Count, a decade of water birds monitoring in Lake Mainit, Philippines. And we look forward to hearing Jane's insight. And over to you, Jane.
Thank you, Menjay. So good afternoon, everyone. I am honored to share an overview of our work on the Asian Waterbird Census at Lake Mainit, representing a decade of dedicated monitoring from 2017 to 2026, which is conducted every January. So this is the outline of my presentation for the next 15 minutes. First, overview of Lake Mainit. Second, decade of waterbird monitoring. Top waterbird species, dominant species, the notable species record, key findings and drivers, conservation importance, and the role of citizen scientists. Lake Mainit is shared by Agusan del Norte and Surigao del Norte. Our monitoring covers multiple barangays in Habonga and Kitcharao on Agusan side and Mainit and Alegria on the Surigao side. The wetland area is 13,913 hectares. It is the fourth largest and deepest lake in the Philippines. Why does this matter? It is an important resting and feeding site for migratory water birds along the East Asian Australasian Flyway. In 2026 alone, Lake Mainit recorded 52,614 waterbird individuals. Not only that, it also has the greatest species richness with 51 species. As you can see on the map, the red dots in the legend symbolize the 21 AWC stations we have established across Lake Mainit. These monitoring sites are strategically distributed to represent the diverse habitats within the lake. The stations located across 11 barangays in the municipalities of Habonga and Kitcharao, and 10 barangays within Alegria and Mainit. By maintaining this network of stations, we ensure a comprehensive and scientifically robust assessment of water bird populations throughout the entire wetland ecosystem. Let me walk you through the numbers from 2017 to 2026. I want you to notice three things. First, if we examine the historical data from 2017 leading up to 2022, we observe a period of remarkable growth. During this interval, the population surged from just over 6,000 birds to a significant peak of 60,621 individuals in 2022. This represents nearly a tenfold increase in avian abundance, demonstrating the lake's growing importance as primary sanctuary within the flyway during those years. Also this time, the participants were already trained in how to count and identify water birds. Second, in 2024 shows a dramatic drop to only 14,582 birds. During this period, several key monitoring stations became inaccessible as water levels receded significantly, rendering the lake too shallow for vessel navigation. This logistical constraint prevented our teams from conducting a full surface survey of those specific areas. While the data reflects a sharp decline, it also serves as a critical reminder of how acutely vulnerable water bird populations are to environmental shifts and habitat availability. This underscores the necessity of adaptive monitoring strategies as we move forward. Finally, and quite encouragingly, our latest data indicates a robust recovery throughout 2025 and into 2026. This year's record count of 52,614 birds represents a significant 43.7% increase compared to the previous year. This upward trend is a heartening indicator of the lake's returning vitality and its continued capacity to host these migratory populations. The trend looks like a mountain range, peaks and valleys. That's why long-term monitoring is essential. Now let's transition to the specific composition of our avian visitors. To understand exactly who's utilizing Lake Mainit, the tufted duck continues to be dominant species at this site with a recorded population of 43,794 individuals. Following the tufted duck, we recorded whiskered tern with population of nearly 3,000 birds. Our census also highlights the little egret with 1,440 birds individuals, the Philippine duck with 1,032 individuals, and I must emphasize the Philippine duck is a vulnerable species endemic to our country. And finally, the intermediate egret with 668 individuals. Notably, these 5 species collectively account for over 94% of the entire water bird population in Lake Mainit. This concentration suggests that our conservation strategies and habitat management efforts, when focused on these key species, will yield most significant ecological impact for the region. I would like to focus specifically on tufted duck, as its presence truly defines the ecological narrative for Lake Mainit. The data illustrates a dramatic trajectory. In 2017, we recorded 499 individuals, but by 2022, that population had skyrocketed to a peak of 54,605, an incredible concentration of single species within one lake. During this time, the volunteer counters were equipped with trainings on bird identification and counting. While we saw a significant contraction in 2024 to 10,700, I am pleased to report that this year we have covered 43,794 individuals, marking 35% increase from 2025. It is vital to recognize the international prestige of this ecosystem. Lake Mainit was officially designated as the 158th East Asian Australasian Flyway Network site, specifically because it consistently supports more than 1% of the global population of tufted ducks. Beyond the milestone, the lake has proven its critical importance by regularly hosting more than 20,000 migratory birds annually. In fact, over the last 6 years, we have recorded an impressive average count of 43,779 individuals, solidifying its status as premier sanctuary for biodiversity in our region. I would now like to direct your attention to these photographs, which document the representative water bird species that utilize the Lake Mainit ecosystem. This photo serves as vital visual evidence of the diverse avian life we have monitored over the past decade. The tufted duck, the black-headed gull, the common sandpiper, the little ringed plover, the purple heron, whiskered tern, the little egret, black-winged teal, the common coot, common moorhen, the Philippine duck. And I would like to take a moment to recognize the dedicated individuals and partners behind the continued success of annual Asian Water Bird Census. This collaborative effort includes technical personnel from the Centros Tubay and Tubod, and our Penros from Agusan del Norte and Surigao del Norte, and then from the regional office, alongside our invaluable partners from the academe and various local government units. To ensure the scientific integrity of our data, we prioritize an orientation and planning phase prior to the commencement of the census. During these sessions, our staff and volunteers received training in water bird identification and standardized counting techniques. Furthermore, they were oriented on precise data entry protocols using the official AWC Southeast Asia forms from Wetlands International ensuring that our local observations meet global standards for conservation research. Our participants were organized into 21 specialized teams corresponding to our monitoring stations. These teams conducted both vessel-based and ground surveys. Each team followed a structured protocol, a recorder, identifier or encounter, and a photo documenter. To avoid the double counting of water birds, we implemented a coordinated survey strategy. Our teams assigned to the both surveys focused exclusively on the expansive open waters, central and western portion of the lake. Simultaneously, our ground survey teams concentrate their efforts on the shoreline and land areas, ensuring each individual bird is accounted for and only once within our monitoring grid. This is the volunteer counters from our partners and our regional offices. So we might ask ourselves what were the primary drivers behind the population increase we observed between 2025 and 2026. Allow me to share the factors we have identified through our ongoing analysis. First, we benefited from the increased number of monitoring personnel this year. Having more eyes on the lake minimizes the probability of undercounting and serves as a prime example of why community participation and citizen science are important to our mission. Second, the environmental conditions were highly favorable during the census period. With excellent visibility and calm waters, our teams were able to identify and record species with higher degree of precision. In instances where we faced unfavorable weather, such as the typhoon during the first week of January this year, we strategically rescheduled our activities by monitoring weather forecasts to ensure optimal counting conditions. Third, the integrity of our data is supported by our commitment to a consistent methodology. By monitoring the same established stations at the same time of the year and adhering to the standardized protocols, we can compare our year-to-year results with a higher level of scientific confidence. Certainly, variables such as food availability, water quality, and conditions along the global migration routes likely play a role, and these areas require further research. However, one thing remains certain. Without the tireless dedication of our counters and partners, this vital data set would simply not exist. As we conclude our analysis, we must ask, what does this decade of data reveal about our conservation priorities? First, it confirms that Lake Mainit is of critical importance for avian abundance. By supporting over 50,000 water birds annually, it forms a massive population base that is vital to the entire flyway. Second, the lake is a premier site for species richness. With 51 distinct species recorded, it remains the highest level of biodiversity in the region. It serves as dual-purpose sanctuary, providing a permanent habitat for endemic species like the Philippine duck, while acting as crucial migratory stopover for visitors like the tufted duck. Furthermore, these population trends serve as primary biological indicator, reflecting the overall ecological health and condition of our lake's ecosystem. While our data shows strong recovery, we must continue to monitor the lake's shifting landscape. Factors such as habitat disturbance, improper waste management, and dominance and emergence of invasive species are elements we track closely as they can naturally influence the distribution and movement of water bird populations over time. This brings us to the core message of World Migratory Bird Day. Every bird counts, your observations matter. This theme is not merely a symbolic phrase, but a fundamental principle that guides our work at the DENR. Every tufted duck you record contributes to our understanding of the lake's health, and conversely, every absence on your data sheet where species once thrived is equally vital piece of information. To maintain the momentum we have seen in 2026, I would like to outline 5 ways you can contribute to this institutional effort. First, actively participate in the annual Asian Water Bird Census. Second, report unusual sightings. Third, provide photographic documentation whenever possible. Fourth, advocate for wetland conservation. And fifth, disseminate these findings. In closing, please remember that robust science is built observation by observation. Each of you functions as vital contributor to our scientific community the moment you pick up those binoculars. Maraming salamat. Thank you, Minjay.
Thank you so much, Jane, for sharing your wonderful stories from Lake Mainit and also empathize the theme of the World Migratory Bird Day this year, which is citizen science. It was a great pleasure to listen and learn about the water birds monitoring in Lake Mainit. And also we could see how long-term data collection and records really contribute to the understanding of changes in the water bird population. And also it was pleasure to see the importance of the supporting the growth of citizen scientists as well, who are the vital to the sustaining long-term monitoring efforts and to understanding the global trends in the birds population as well. So we now is over all the three presentations, and if you have any questions to the presenters, please leave your questions on the chat box. On the bottom, you will see the icon for the chat. So once you click it, you can message to the group chat and share your questions. And also now I would like to invite our moderator for the Q&A session. Vivian, it's over to you.
Thanks, Georgina, Aprianto, and Jane for the presentation. I mean, we are also from MyPo Nature Reserve managing a site, so it's also echoing a lot of things like how do we train people to do bird monitoring, and for Georgina for like doing activities to promote migratory birds. Thanks for letting me do the moderator role. So if there is no questions, that is quite hard to be a moderator. So I would like to invite people. You don't necessarily include the questions in the chat box. You can also raise your hands. Like there is an icon at the bottom that you can also raise your hands and ask your questions. Is there anyone have some questions to the presenters? This is our first one with our site managers for a webinar with EAAFP. So yeah, great. I saw hands from Pramod Kumar. So over to you, please. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and share your questions.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Pramod Thanvi, and I'm Assistant Professor of Zoology in Phalodi district, which is near the Kitchen, which is a world-famous migratory site of Temusal cranes. Presently, I'm working on resident and migratory birds in Phalodi region, especially focus on Temusal crane. I just want to ask if I want a training, if I want to join a training program held by an institute like ICF, WWF on migratory birds, how can I participate?
Okay. Well, is it allowed to do advertisement? Yeah, like WWF do have our wetland management training. So you can go visit our website. Maybe we can leave our website the link. We are actually going to open call for wetland management course participants, so we can also email you. Thanks for raising this. And I do believe that capacity building is very important for all the sites. That's why this time working with the ASEAN Flyway Network and all the EAAFP partners was a really inspiring experience for us to also providing like capacity building and training to the site managers. Yeah, great. Thanks. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is one in the chat. Let me. Thanks, Opal. The question is, what are some potential challenges faced when engaging and promoting conservation or with the local ecotourism to local communities, such as persuading them to join and involving them? So I think this question is it's applicable to all the three presenters. Who would like to speak first? Jane or Aprianto? Are you?
Yeah, maybe for my side, please. When we talk about local community, because usually that like in Wasur, they rely on to the nature, so it's a little bit easy to get involved then to work with ecotourism. However, when we talk about ecotourism, we should make like another message to convey to them how it works. Maybe they know their nature, which wells, which kind of bird, anything. So usually that when we talk or with locals, we should make like a different approach from other communities. So we should make something different to them. Like when we talk about a bird in the field, maybe they know in the local language. So we should make like small efforts to make how to know when they say one bird to other birds. So it's like to make small education before, and then we transform the like a modern scientific to the local language is a little bit a challenge for us. But when we work with them in like any time, indeed it will be need a long time, and it's like a long times. But when we talk with them for how to conserve, they will be in number one, because they know the nature with well. So and then they also believe the nature is the mother, so they will keep it. And then when we transform them to economics, it's really easy if we work in the language. So we should just in one language with them. It's like that I can convey it. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Aprianto. And may I pass it over to Jane or Georgina, if you would also like to answer these questions from Opal, which is about potential challenges on engaging and promoting conservation with local communities. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Vivian. So I'll answer that first before Miss Gina. So over time of doing this work, the Asian Water Bird Census, we have been partnering with the local government units. So through our field offices, the provincial office and the community offices, the community environment and natural sources. So we've been partnering with the LG and explaining to them what are the importance of doing this activity, explaining to them the importance of the water birds, why they have to be conserved, why they have to be monitored. So with that, doing that over the past decade, we haven't seen any major like challenges. It's just that more minor, like for the funding, especially it entails budget to have them provide them with the food like that. So that's one thing. So, but persuading them is not that, it's not that hard. Thank you.
Great that you have good government support for the local activities. But I think your sites also have challenges for like monitoring work that is like water level change that may affect the results. Yeah,
Yeah,
kind
for
of
the
things like
sites.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The receding of the water level. But right now, I think it's we have find ways how to monitor in areas which cannot be accessible.
Or do you have any plan for expanding your monitoring team? Would that be difficult to recruit the right people? I mean, training needs some time.
Yeah, I think we have to ask from your experts to train us so that everyone will be equipped more, especially in bird identification.
Yeah, thanks. That's also our challenge, even though we have like long-term monitoring experience in Hong Kong. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
And then may I pass on to Georgina for this question? Thanks.
Yes, Vivian. For our side, we were lucky to have with us the local community from the very start. When we started establishing our stations, they were already involved. So one of the challenges is that some of them were apprehensive in explaining to tourists in their own local dialects because they speak Visayan, and then most of the visitors comes from Luzon, so they speak in Tagalog. But luckily, the Department of Tourism regional office, together with the DNR and the provincial office and the local government unit, joined forces in 2019 with the funding support from ACB, and then moving onwards to the Nagaw funds, we were able to conduct local guide trainings in the area, like specifically for CI area, since it is the gateway for the flyway site. So initially we have trained some local guides. So, but we are still enhancing this. We are going to enhance their skills because there are varied species. It's not only birds, but they also have the flying foxes, like the marine turtles and the whale sharks in the area, including the crocodiles, saltwater crocodile. So we need to make to train them on specific species so that they will be more at home in giving the talks. But we have partnered with the education department, and we have good teachers also who were trained to do local guiding tours in the area. So the challenge is really to bring in all these community members to participate. But with the support of the local government, like for CI, they have started it. They have availed of the infrastructure budget from the tourism office. So they have the facilities like the boardwalk and the platforms for observation, observing the species. And then now the provincial government is providing them a 6 million fund for the tourist boat, because they since the declaration of the site as a Ramsar and a flyway site, Ma'am Jennifer was a witness with Kyle and Bell in the area. They have toured the area. So people started to come in already because they became proud also and happy to note that they gained global recognition to the local conservation efforts that they started to do with us before. So this is one challenge that we are really trying to strengthen because most of the communities are already organized. So Belle and Kyle have experienced that when they did the tour, the local community were the ones who provided the food for them. And then the local communities were the ones operating the tourist boat also. So that's one challenge that we are taking in Sibugay now, but we intend to replicate these other local tourism activities in other areas because we have 10 municipalities. So we have started in the island already with 3 municipalities. So, but CI is the strongest for now since they have the facilities already and the support from the provincial government as well as the congressional representative also. So, okay.
Right. Thanks a lot, Georgina. And you also raised a good point or encouraging point for designating the sites as a Ramsar or a Station Australasian Flyway Network site, because afterwards it helps to draw resources for you to implement activities, to even engage local communities to gain their support so that they can also explore like alternate livelihoods, like receiving the tourists to provide them with food and others. Thanks. Georgina, please stay because the next question is also for you. It's from Angelique. So her question is, are there any published reports on detected species of birds in Sibugay Wetland Nature Reserve? And also, were there any spatial analysis you have conducted to determine the specific roosting and feeding sites of the water birds within the wetland ecosystem of Sibugay? Which can be used as a reference in the Philippine setting. Yes, and then there is a follow-up questions based on this. It's like, what type of tags you use on the birds. But maybe the first part of the questions, like any like detailed report or like spatial analysis of birds in the Sibugay. So this is from Angelique. Thanks.
Yes. For now, the only published documents that we have is the site information sheet available in the EAAF site, and including also the Ramsar information sheet in the Ramsar website also. But in 2019, we were able to present a paper in Pampanga from the Biodiversity Symposium conducted in sponsored by TNR and the NGO in the Philippines. So there was a paper presented on the initial data that we gathered, but at that time it was only for 2018, 2019. It was in their proceedings, but for the banded water birds that I presented a while ago, we have not yet published it in the scientific journal, as we intend really to have that regular monitoring during the third or fourth quarter, because that's what we wanted to prove, that indeed they come regularly, because we have only proofs for some species like the red knot AC with AC inscription. We have observed it for 8 months in our site, like in the southern migration period, it stays until December, and then later part of January or early February, we can see it again until April in our site. So it's an evidence that they use the site twice. So these are the data that we really intend to gather or generate. That's why we have not published it yet. But the info we have also submitted from the Nagaw Terminal Report also project that we availed in 2023. But it was awarded to us in 2021 during the pandemic. So as for the geospatial data, we have not yet done it thoroughly, because right now we are working on the detailed activities for the Field Flyway project with ADB, which will be implemented during the third quarter of this year. And that's one aspect of the project that we intend to really do the geospatial analysis, because we have encouraged already some students from the Marine Biology Department of several institutions, and they have started doing like food analysis with abundance in the area, and then some ecosystem analysis also. So once these things are in place, together with the 4-year project of Field Flyway, maybe we can come up with a good substantive scientific paper about these birds in our area. And for the flag, what's the question about the flag?
Yeah, what types of tags you use on the birds? Probably it's relating to the lake flag protocol.
Yes, that's what they have used. But we have observed that there's a banding group that used the Indonesian combination, like the red, black over yellow. So we have to look at the location of the ring. If it's on top of the leg, it's from China. So the banding flag will be black over yellow, but black over white. But if it's low in the tarsus part, so it's from Russia, because sometimes the white flag becomes stained, so it sometimes appears like yellowish, but actually it's really white. So we were taught by the banders also to look at the location of the rings on the left leg of the bird. So, but for our project with Field Flyway, it is part of the banding part aspect is part of the project. So we intend to use the flag assigned for the Philippines also. So maybe the one who questioned it can join later, or during the project implementation, they can also come and see our site. So I think maybe it will be on the third or fourth year already that it will be implemented in the during the project. So I hope I've answered their queries.
Great, thanks. And also I saw Minje has already placed the EAAFP website with the shorebird color markings protocol, which like different countries or different locations, they have their trained bird banders, and then they do bird banding with the specific lake flag color combination for different locations of so when the birds come to Sibugay, then we saw that it actually was banded from Russia or China or like somewhere in Southeast Asia. So and I do think there may be some demand or thought for training on bird banding in the future.
Vivian, if I
Right.
may add, they can also access the Facebook account of the leg flag
Yes.
shorebird leg flag sighting in the
Mm,
yes, because that's where we submit also our documentation. Because previously in 2018, when we cited Rudy Turnstone, we had to submit our report to Australia, to Joris Drisen at that time. He was the keeper of the database, and then in 2020 they established the Facebook account, so that's much easier for us to just post the photos, give the information, and then the banders already comment on that side, so we immediately can receive the data that we need, where it was banded, when it was banded. So sometimes we encountered also comments like the ring was placed upside down, so the flag the bird was banded in Russia, not in another country, if you read it on the upright position. So it's nice to really monitor that site. They can register or try to become a member, so that they can monitor our reports also there.
yes, and also Minja has shared that Facebook page on the chat box so everyone can follow. And this also we really have to thank the Shorebird Working Group members. They're also very actively monitoring and checking the Facebook page and feedback with the information from the photos shared by the others. So yeah, thanks. It's a lot of questions, and thanks, Georgina, for your all your answers. How about others? Questions to Jane and Aprianto? Maybe I get one more questions to Aprianto, because you mentioned about youth, and like building capacity for youth is also an other focus of the EAAFP. How can we engage more young people to the conservation? And I'm glad that you are doing something to train young people. So what is your plan? And like at this moment, like how many you have recruited? Where are they from? Are you also working with universities? I'm just like brainstorming, but over to you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. I heard that we get involved in our work mostly come from Green Youth movement that already established from our ministry, and then it's like we select from each school, and then we train them to be like perimeter conservationists, and also we work with university in surround us in here in Marrakesh. It's like just give them like informations like what runs aside, and then what is national park, and what we do, just like make communications, education, and then we will be increase the awareness in the end our projects. So it's like to collect them or to make them in participating is like a big project for us. But when we see the we doing like an purpose project in water centers, they really like had more powerful in work, and then they like encourage us to give them more information like that. So we just come there to in the schools to make like a education conservation in schools, like maybe they has already get by book, but we will talk in our visions. So it's like maybe in book they really settle like this one and this one, and then you just make corrections. So it's like when you talk in a book, it's like this one, and then maybe there is a mistake in their thinking, so we just make a corrections in the how they're thinking. It's like how to like make a gap in the thing. So it's like when they see in the fields is maybe different when they talk in the book. So it's like make a gap so they can understand in real situations. It's like that.
Yeah. It's the best way of teaching or inspiring people is to bring them to see the real things.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Actually, we do have one question from Cantus Adley Brilliant. He also wanted to ask about like how do you balance inspirational conservation messaging with the realities of limited fundings, habitat degradation, and long-term management challenges at the site level. So maybe this one I can pass to Jane first, and then if Georgina and Aprianto, you want to chip in for a short answer, you're also welcome.
Thank you for that, Ms. Vivian. So how do we balance conservation messaging with the realities of limited funding? So yeah, we've been, as I mentioned earlier, doing this activity, the Asian Water Bird Census. So aside from funding for our agency, we've been partnering with our local government units, especially those that have deeper understanding on the conservation of migratory birds. We focus on that. Those local government units who are interested in conservation, because the challenge was that not all LGUs, not all local government units are prioritize conservation. So we focus on those partners with who are interested in this activity. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And sometimes people may not only measure or respond if there is money, so they can enjoy or like just contributing because they love the nature, right? Any last message from Georgina?
From our end, to answer the question of Aldi, in our case, we have a localized biodiversity strategy and action plan for Sibugay. So this aspect is already incorporated in that localized version of the BISAP. So what we are working now on with the provincial government is to mainstream these activities at the municipal and barangay level, so that since they are already also mandated to do conservation efforts on the natural resources that they have, so we need to strengthen the mainstreaming of these activities, that it will form part of the regular activities at the local level. So since they are already joining us in these activities, what we can do is to situate that this is really mainstream. Like for the annual investment program that they have, they can already include it there. So by anchoring the localized BISAB that we have for the province, but it is only until the year 2028, and we have worked with UNDP last year, and they said that we can be included in the updating of the local BISAB that we have to make it until 2040. So we can include it also in that aspect, so that funding will not become a problem or a hindrance for us to be able to do these conservation activities, because it is already part of the regular activities in the area. So that's the approach that we are working on here in Sibugay.
Great, thank you, Georgina. And how about Apriano? Any short answer to that questions?
Yes, when we talk about limited funding, when we convey message in education, we just filling a gap in the schools because they are already like lessons about environment education. So we just filling, and then we give our sites from fields to the schools, and then for habitat degradations, we just take the in like in fields like when in water bird census, so they can feel different. So it's like make real life education like that. And then for long-term management is more challenge in prioritize the education and conservation. However, but we just put all efforts in make communications, educations, and increase the awareness from young people through education, and then we bring them to the fields to make a real situations, just like that, in simple one.
Thank you. Thanks. So I think this discussion turns to be a really interesting and inspiring one. Thank you again for our three speakers, Georgina, Jane, and Aprianto. So these are just the first one. We have another one that will come in July that we will have another group of site managers to share with us. So maybe stay tuned with us at that time. And now I would like to pass back the stage to Minjae for the closing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vivian, for being a wonderful moderator. And yeah, thanks for all speakers again. And last but not least, I want to remind you that the 9th of May is the first peak day of the World Migratory Bird Day. So if you would like to participate and get some resources, yeah, my colleague is sharing the screen. So please share this, please scan this QR code, then you can visit the World Migratory Bird Day Trello board. And it seems we are at the end of today's webinar, and I hope you all have enjoyed the session. And thanks for supporting the Migratory World Birds Conservation and World Migratory Bird Day. And we look forward to welcoming you for the future events. So far, I'm Minjae Baek, Communications Officer at the EAAFP, and it's been a pleasure to serve as a facilitator for this webinar, together with my colleague Bear, who works for the technical support. And I wish you all have a happy World Migratory Bird Day on upcoming Saturday. Thank you.